Sorry for being late. Hello, everyone.
Hi everybody.
Hello, Kiku.
Hi,
Hi, let's start. Last week I've been working on the unknown index and was working through the code of ButterFS. The more I read ButterFS, the more I understand the design of our system. And I will be reviewing Trimmy's Illinois Blue Store this week. And that's me. Trimmy. Hey, Trimmy, you're muted. We can come back to her later on. Videk, how's it going?
Hello. I was working around the recovery code. Also, I found a tool for based on Tilang, by the way, that is able to generate state chart diagrams from Boost state chart specification in C++. Moreover, somebody already ran the code, which was pretty helpful while analyzing the recovery stuff.
Oh yeah, I wrote that a couple of years ago. I wrote that back in 2012.
Yep,
Does it
that's
still work?
by the way, that's actually very good justification to provide support for LLVM and CLang, at least for the peering machine component. Anyway, after analysis, I was able to divide the work into at least 4 different stages. One will be pglog based recovery, another one backfill recovery, dependent with a prerequisite, pretty independent from REST, PG scanning, and there is also pretty separated stages. There are pretty separated stages related to making reservations for both backfill and PG log based recovery. I think we could short circuit them and start from backfill, and especially from its requirements, PG scanning. That's my plan. PG scanning first. What do you think?
You mean you're going to start with the backfill code and do specifically the PG spanning logic first? Seems a good place to start, Sunny.
Yeah.
Keep in mind it's a
PG
simple
scanning
piece of backfill. Yeah, for what it's worth.
I see. I intended to start from backfill.
Okay, that's good. I mean, that is the first step.
And step number 0 would be a requirement of backfill, which is PG scanning.
Yeah, right.
It seems pretty well contained in the entire system. It's not has so much dependency spread around the code, like in case of recovery.
Well, I mean, backfill's a piece of recovery, but yeah, that's true. Just the messages responsible for doing the scans are pretty simple.
That's the thing I want to start from.
Seems reasonable.
Okay. I went also through our systems and unit tests to construct some kind of inventory, and actually I haven't found too much of unit testing related to pglog-based recovery nor backfill.
Yeah, there's none.
There is only one test pglog, and nothing more. Nothing.
It's because if you think about it, the way the code is integrated into the overall code base, you can't use any of it without a real OSD. The pglog code is actually, those unit tests are hyper important actually, because they test really, really difficult to reproduce edge cases in the way logs are merged. But that's like, if you go read that code, you'll see why it has the unit tests it does. There is a lot of fiddly bits with exactly which log entries are detected as missing and what their versions are, and that logic is very fiddly. Fortunately, that logic does not require an OSD. It's restricted to the pglog class, but which is the thing we did when we did the peering state machine refactor back in 2012. But we weren't able to hoist the rest of the recovery code out the same way. So that stuff still has dependencies back on a real OSD. It's going to be very, very hard to construct unit tests of it. Although if you can, by all means, like if you could find a way to like build out the PG scanning logic so that it's both non-trivial and, well, I mean, they're scripts, but you'll notice what those do is they poke at real OSDs and try to get them to do certain things.
I see. I just posted the system tests in QA directory. Yeah. Still better than nothing. But if we are implementing the stuff, re-implementing the stuff in Crimson, maybe we could try to turn the code into a set of components, which could facilitate unit testing.
You definitely should strive to do that as best you can. I will point out that the scanning code, there's very little to it. Like, you get in a message and then you basically call the corresponding object store method. There's not a lot else going on. It's really just a message.
Yeah, but that's...
The backfill code on the primary side is much more error-prone. But it's error-prone because of interactions with other parts of the OSD. So I'll just alert you to those things. That doesn't mean it isn't worth having unit tests for.
Yeah, but it definitely will be hard to dissect just the clue code responsible for message handling. But in case of PG scanning, okay, it's quite simple. But still, the scanning code could be turned into some kind of scanner component that would require just some little gluing for message handling with to OSD. But the scanner itself,
I think that's a valid thing to do.
Okay, I will try to dissect the things from classical OSD to share as much code as possible.
Yeah,
thanks.
That would be good.
Jimmy, the Mac it works now. Jimmy, how's it going?
So last week I rebased the code, and but I'm not sure if we need to merge the code since we will not support it in the production. So do you have some conclusion? We still need to merge the code, or just put?
I think we definitely need this. That's a plan.
Okay.
But I think the thing not decided is that we need to support this in production. I asked Josh.
In production builds?
I'm not sure. Yes, indeed. I'm not sure
he
has contact SAM or not.
I feel like we're still talking about this, so we should just merge it as is. And if we want to make a change to change the build for non-production builds, we should do it afterwards.
Yes.
That's fine.
Yep.
Anyway, sorry, I think we just got a little misunderstanding. We really want to have Alien Store merged. The all question was whether we want whether we want it to be a part of our official non-development build or not.
There is no official non-development build.
Okay.
There will be.
No, I'm dead serious. Right now, there isn't. It's more important to get this merged than to solve the exact details of what an official build looks like. So for now, it's part of the only build we have, which is the dev build. Or the production build or whatever. I'm saying it's not that interesting to work out whether we're going to support it in the future. For now, it's enough to say, well, this is what we're building, and this is the build that says that performance numbers work. And that's just the way it is this week. We make no promises about next week, but that's the way it is now. If you like, that's what I'm saying. If you want to get it done, that's fine. But I'd rather just merge it as is and add that tomorrow. See what I mean?
Okay. So yeah. So then please review the code and Gafu, if you merge it, you
You
have
guys
to
need me to look it
modify it.
over? I remember looking it over a while back and thinking that it was pretty close. I can have another look tomorrow if you'd like me to.
It's
Yeah.
close. I will take a
Yeah,
final look this week.
And needed to have some little patch for the C star because for the SMP equal to 1, we have to make set up the queue for SMP equal to 1. So you need to change some C star code, and for the release version and C star build used C star allocator, and I try to enlarge the C star allocator some memory allocation. It passed the first allocation field, but in the later still has some error. So I'm not sure if in the POSIX thread it can use C star allocator. So I would want to check with C star gas if in the POSIX thread environment, alien environment, and if we can use the C star allocator. And if they said yes, it sure, and then I will debugging on it for the later the allocators issue. But the currently default allocator works. So for the release version, I modify the C make file to that it used the default allocator.
By default allocator, you mean the allocator offered by glibc,
By
right?
TC lab C library, not the C star its own new operator new the C star uses his own new operator. So it's different. It's all controlled by the C star, but that failure happened in the Blue Star POSIX thread. So I enlarged the number. There I found some fixed number, hardcode number in the C star, but still has error later when the code running. When I do the write test, and I think at the beginning there are very big allocator memory allocation for the RocksDB. Then that passed. Finally, it still has error. So first I want to make sure if the alien world can use the C star allocator.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I need to play around with it after
But
review it.
the animal default allocator works, and not use C star its own new something like that. And I'm going to reading the C star code. So I want to make sure how many percent code we have finished now. So Sammy,
Sorry, what's up?
how many percent C star code have we finished?
Like 5.
5%?
Yeah, no, we're a long way off. I hope
Okay.
to have something benchmarkable at a really simple level, just the LBA component, within
Okay,
the next, I think
So yeah.
6 weeks ago I said within the next 6 weeks, so I say again within the next 6 weeks.
Okay.
Hopefully sooner. Sorry. But yeah, we're writing this from scratch. Blue Store started with a lot of stuff that this doesn't start with. We have to write it from scratch.
Okay, so next step, I will do some the alien store performance testing. I try to use the V-start and try to build deploy on the bare metal machine to see if the performance has clear improvement. Then I will read the C star code. Then so that's all from me.
Thanks for me. Redek.
Redek already talked.
Sorry.
Sorry. Jonan.
Hi everybody. Not much done on my side on mostly what I did is going over the code and adding comments where I missed comments. Mostly I heard walkthroughs and wrote down whatever was said in those walkthroughs as comments into the code. And the basic, well, everything around the issue of scrubbing, which I started to code. That's most of what I managed to do.
Sam.
I spent a bunch of the end of last week preparing for Hawks at Vault yesterday. I think the one in Crimson went pretty well. People are excited. So that's good. This week I'm back to working on C-Store.
Okay. Johan, I'll get your PR tested this by the end of this week, by the way, because it changes the existing pglog interface. So I'm concerned if we can get it merged before Octopus gets out the door. So I would prefer postpone it until after Octopus is released, so we have more time to hammer on the change.
Okay, I got it. Last week I was trying to implement the pglog-based recovery in Crimson. I'm starting with the object pull and push mechanism, since I think that should be the foundation of both pglog-based recovery and backfill. I think maybe I should implement the pull and push mechanism separately and submit a PR for it, so the pglog-based recovery and backfill can totally be implemented in parallel. And that's all for me.
I think to define the interface is for most important, so we can work on it in parallel.
Yeah.
Bingxin?
Yeah, last week I finished the native stack evaluation and the document, and it seems performance is 7 times better if we send a request one by one with steps equals 1. So I think that is a very good result comparing to POSIX stack.
So 7 times better. It's good.
Yeah.
By better, what do you mean by better? Is it throughput or latency?
I mean send the message one by one.
Yes, I'm talking about the metrics
with
you are using
steps.
To evaluate the.
You can refer to the metric with steps equals to 1. So if steps equals to 1, and it means the requests are received one by one each other, and the latency will be 7 times better. I think because there's zero copy implementations in the native stack and DPDK.
My question is more like, what's the metric you are using? Like, what's the bandwidth you are looking? If you are looking at bandwidth or the latency of the.
The time of the number of requests and the time of the entire costs. It's just to divide the cost with the number of requests.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to this way I'm trying to understand the Crimson OSD and the classic OSD implementations. It is still high level, and I'm making the fixes on the way, so I'm still trying to understand the code. That's me.
Okay. Do you have any plan regarding to the support of the multiple address in V2? Because every time
multiple address,
I get the warning message from the compiler.
Okay. What when you mean multiple address, do you mean the port for both V1 and V2, but because I thought it was the same meaning.
It's a feature introduced by V2 protocol, which means that we can bind a given messenger on multiple addresses.
So what's this used for?
I think it's more. It will be very interesting regarding to our future messenger. Because as you know, we cannot transfer an established connection from one core to another. So in future, we might need to find it on multiple ports and share the PG by ports. That will be necessary in future.
So what do you think the feature is okay? Is it implemented in the classic OSD,
yes.
The async messenger? So the async messenger is now binding on multiple ports.
Wait, that's not true.
Right now.
What?
I think it is.
It's not. It's not even in the OSD map. How does the client know which one to talk to?
So it doesn't implement it in the...
No, hang on a sec. I might be wrong. I mean...
Okay,
right?
I will
check.
The
whole point here is that when the client sends a message in, it just goes to immediately to the correct thread, right?
Yeah, that's true. But
the client would have to see it in the OSD map, or it would have to be communicated somehow as part of the messenger startup process.
I agree that if an OSD bounded to multiple addresses, the client would be confused. But it's a twofold problem.
It does actually. It binds to 4 ports actually. There's a public port, a private port, and then a heartbeat public and a heartbeat private. That's an entirely different feature, though.
What I mean is that identity is able to bind it to multiple addresses. That's a V2 protocol feature.
Do you mean to IPv4 and IPv6?
No. Just multiple addresses, like multiple host addresses of a given protocol. For example.
Oh, I see. That's also a really different feature, though. The client can send to any of them.
Yes.
It doesn't solve this problem. That's different.
But we can use this feature for addressing the problem of the issue we are facing which prevent us from.
No.
Why?
Because so if I'm remembering that feature correctly, all that is it allows the same messenger to show up on more than one address. So if you send a message to any of them, it's the same thing. We need an entirely different thing. We need basically one messenger per core. And I don't mean one messenger per core as distinct from multiple connections. What I mean is the client needs to know the difference. The client, when it runs crush on an object, it's going to get back a PG, then it's going to get back an OSD that it needs to send the message to. That's what it does now. And right now it'll pick whatever of those addresses is the right one to send it to based on its position in the network. However, what we needed to do is do one more. We needed to say, okay, there are 10 ports exposed for this OSD, and I'm actually talking to PG 2.2. 2.2 is on shard 3. I need to talk to shard 3. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That doesn't exist. Not yet.
But should we start on that?
Well, it's not a messenger problem. I think you would literally run 10 messengers for 10 cores. I don't think there's any reason to put it inside of the messenger implementation. I don't think it makes any difference.
Yeah.
So the hard part isn't the messenger part. It's not a messenger protocol issue. It's a Rados protocol issue. We need a way to express in the OSD map what partitions exist and which PGs are on which partition. See what I mean? And that has additional really complicated ramifications. Like, for instance, what happens when PG splits happen? Do you have to move PGs between shards in that case? You would actually. Or you might get unbalanced shards, which would be really bad. So I think in the short term, we should actually think about how to efficiently hand off connections between cores. I think that's the short-term solution, and we're going to need to be able to do it for backwards compatibility anyway. because old clients
Yeah.
are gonna won't know about this. And I think while optimally, yeah, we wouldn't do this, we have to remember we're talking about one thread switch compared to like 8 minimum in classic OSD. We don't have to solve the whole problem to solve most of it. So I think in the short term, we should just live with the initial crossbar
Yeah.
and move from there. And there are other little things we can do too. Even without changing the protocol, we could, for instance, we could change the V2 protocol a little bit to allow you to publish more than one port. And every time you get a message, if it was to the wrong port, you could say, okay, I'm handling it, but by the way, for all future messages on this PG, please redirect to the other port. For instance, the client would have to maintain a cache for each OSD of which PGs are where, but I don't think that would be that much memory. But I think what I'm trying to say is there are a bunch of different ways to solve this problem, and in the meantime, for now, we should just do the simple thing and accept the one core switch.
Okay.
So are we started to implement M2M OSD?
I haven't started.
No.
It's going to require huge
started
changes to the store too that I haven't even thought about yet.
I just want to think about it and to find out what we can do to prepare for the end-to-end.
I mean,
so maybe
that's a project,
is,
but I think it's more important to get back full recovery scrub working first.
Yeah.
And we should all be keeping this in mind as we design these things. But I think for the most part, anything inside of the PG will be pretty trivial to port over. It's not going to touch more than one core anyway. Because it's within a single PG. That's the whole point, right?
Yeah, so I will continue to look at Crimson SD code. Right? Is that good? Okay.
Good for me. Okay. Any questions? Okay. Thank you, guys. Talk to you later.
All right. Talk to you later. Bye.
See you.
Everyone.
See you.
Bye.